Yo, yo, yo! What up, fuckers?
Saturday, it's the weekend.
Yo, had a great night last night.
Yes.
Going into a great night tonight as well.
Yep, we got to watch Spiral together. I had seen it beforehand. One of our friends hosted us at his theater, so we appreciate him. And we were able to watch Spiral in the environment that it should have been watched. So we're both Saw fans. We're both big Saw fans of the whole franchise. We know there's a lot of great. We know there's a lot of bad. I was very happy with this film.
Yes.
Super happy with what Chris Rock did, what Twisted Pictures saw in what Chris Rock wanted to do, and letting him run with it.
Dope. I mean, it was very well thought out, very well done. We're going to talk about the story just a little bit, and then we're going to compare traps today.
Yep.
Between what like these and what we like, how compared to the last 7 or
yes.
8, last 8,
last 8,
Jigsaw.
yeah.
And then we'll give you our top 5 traps. But before we do, it's a word from our sponsor, Just Kicking It. I think we're allowed to take the B out now.
Yep.
So Brandon Jack, he was wearing his shorts last night.
I was wearing Brandon shorts. The women's leggings are out,
yep.
So go get some of those if you're a woman. He got gear for the women, so it's
they fire.
They look nice. I've been thinking like 3 or 4 times like how I was gonna repost that on my story, and I'm trying to find the right song to go with the repost because I'm like I can't just half-ass bring this up.
Ladies, they make your ass look good. You know what I'm saying? You know some leggings don't make your ass look a little flat. This ain't one of them.
That's Justin for you. So, just that's all he thinks about. I was going to talk about the material. I was going to talk about the nice lettering on the side, the colors that we got. We got blue and black right now. So, go check those out. They're amazing. Also, go listen to their podcast, Just Kicking It Podcast, with B-Jack, Vize, and Vito. I did not know this. I haven't met Vito in person, but we were hooping the other day. One of me and my buddies were, and Vito was hooping at the same gym. So I got to chop it up with my boy next time I see, or next time Justin and I end up being hosts or co-hosts for an episode on Just Kicking It with y'all.
For sure.
So before we get into it, like Justin said, we're going to talk about Spiral, talk about the traps in that and how they compare to other stuff, and then we're going to list off our top 5 favorite traps in all of the Saw franchise. Did I get that right?
100%.
Okay, good. Because you said it right, and I was like, let me make sure I know what we're doing.
Yeah. We're good. But real quick shout out to Han Junkies and quick shout out to Kosi.
Yep.
So
boring_Millie. Get your logos designed by my dog.
We're here. We're gonna before we do anything else, we're gonna chug our Dos Equis.
Yep.
I did chug Miller Lite last night for the brand.
He did, just for the brand.
Just for
Let's get it. That was ice cold.
Yeah.
That was free. Was that in the freezer?
No.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Justin struggles a lot more afterwards. Like Justin's gonna struggle for the next 5 minutes.
I'm good now that crazy because last time I don't think I finished the whole bottle, but I'm back at it. You just gotta open your throat up a little bit.
There it is.
So we're here. Spiral.
Let's start with Spiral.
We're gonna talk. Let's touch up on the story real quick. We'll give you a quick rundown. So we're not gonna get super into detail. Still possible spoilers.
Yes. I know we're gonna go in as much detail as we want because this movie's been out for a while.
Yeah.
So Justin says spoilers. There's gonna be full on spoilers in this.
Yeah.
So
movie starts out straight off the movie. You guys haven't seen. I didn't watch any of the trailers, but I watched the beginning scene when they posted it. Movie starts out. For those who watched, for those who actually haven't seen, starts with the subway. It starts with a trap right away. So,
which is what a lot of Saw movies do. Is you get the trap that starts off the whole movie.
And the person that was trapped was a cop. Mm-hmm. His name was Boss. Turns out, while that was happening, Chris Rock was undercover as an undercover cop. I automatically thought he was just a bad guy because he was dressed up as a criminal, hijacking somebody's money from
just drug dealers.
Dealers, yeah. So, but we find out he's cop. His captain gets mad at him, and we find out also that his whole precinct hates him because he turned in a dirty cop. And it didn't matter that he was dirty because they have some kind of cop code where it's like it's like loyalty, and it doesn't matter, especially in New York.
More in a cover-up attitude in this whole department. You get that off rip. You get that the department doesn't like him because he exposed some of the things that the rest of the department also had been trying to cover up and do, which we find out is Article 8. That is the precinct that they're working under, and it was a way to clean up the streets, and it's led to a lot of corruption. And I will say this movie takes on social issues a lot more than the other ones do, right? Yeah. So you get a lot of consequences on cops' actions being portrayed in this, and Chris Rock took that in that direction. And that's what I was saying at the beginning was I appreciate Twisted Pictures for letting him take that ideology and wanting to have so much symbolism in a movie that you could have put out like what Jigsaw did. I did not like Jigsaw, the movie.
I didn't either.
And so like that was just a cash grab. They didn't do anything new. They retconned basically the whole series, and what they established at the end of Jigsaw was terrible and didn't make any sense in the whole scheme of things. This fits in the universe of Saw, obviously well after Kramer is dead, and someone being a copycat killer is a really interesting premise to take it to, right?
Yeah, and he's with that said, the guy who's a copycat killer isn't really even trying to copy him. This is based off of Chris Rock's dad in the movie. Like the reason why this Jigsaw copycat.
So what do you mean by that exactly? Can you expand on that?
Yeah.
Do you mean
the reason this whole the premise of this movie, or the foundation of this copycat Jigsaw, is because of Chris Rock's dad, Samuel L. Jackson. In the movie,
it's Marcus Banks. So they're trying to. The copycat killer is trying to correct the department by basically figuring out who the dirty cops are and killing them in the way as being a copycat killer of Jigsaw.
Yes.
So
because when he was 12 years old, the cop that Chris Rock turned in, a dirty cop that he turned in, was this copycat killer's dad.
Well, yeah, I think you mixed it up a little. You got it right. He shot the copycat killer's dad.
What? Yeah,
the dirty cop shot his dad.
Yeah, killed him.
Yeah. So you just left that one out. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that, and
that's why this guy that's why he's trying to get all this dirty corruptment out of New York. And he is now a detective, and he said it took a lot of work to get there, and he wanted to be Chris Rock's partner his whole life, because he watched his father get murdered.
Under a fake name to get assigned to be Chris Rock's partner so that he could carry this out. And then also at the end, he tries to get Chris Rock to work with him. And you have everything in between is the traps and getting us there and trying to figure out who the copycat killer is, and the copycat killer being Will, his partner, playing games with Chris Rock throughout. Turns out the whole movie is really Chris Rock's game, right? It's getting him closer and closer to this, and his final test is the trap at the end, which we will talk about. So that is kind of a long-winded overview of that. If you haven't watched it, and I've thought about it this way, if you're a big Saw fan, I think you'll really like this movie a lot. I've watched it twice now, and I think both feelings I had, even the second time I watched it, gave me chills down my spine of the end. I love the ending. The symbolism in the ending with Samuel L. Jackson hanging up, and how they have the puppet hanging up that's a pig as a cop the whole movie. The symbolism is absolutely incredible. I really love the flashback. It felt like a Saw movie, right? It felt back to that form. But should we get into talking about some of the traps?
Yeah, we'll talk about these traps now. So there's a few of these traps, and in comparison to the other Saws, I'll say this. Not that they were bad, but compared to the other Saws, I think we're lower tier.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I would say when we were thinking about our favorite traps out of all the franchises or the whole franchise that we're going to talk about in a second, I didn't really consider any of these. There were 2 traps. They're really they're brutal. They're tough to watch if you hadn't seen them before. Maybe the other Saw films, their traps I'm a little desensitized to, but those kind of gave me the same feeling as I felt when I saw other traps for the first time. But on an overall standpoint, the traps just weren't that crazy or brutal or torturous as the other ones in the previous movies were. Now, granted, as the series went on and Saw, those traps got more of just brutal torture rather than it being a game to escape. Like Kramer had, you're going to be faced with your demons, and you're going to have to confront them in order to escape and walk away, hopefully. There wasn't much opportunity for some of these dirty cops that were put in these traps. There wasn't much opportunity for them to survive. We were talking about them. I guess at the beginning, Boz could have jumped off of, he's got his tongue nailed in, and he's hanging from the railroad roof of the railroad tracks, and there's a train coming. So realistically, how he could have gotten out of that was jumped off, ripped his tongue out, and then tried to run away, or ran off to the side and just hoped that he didn't get hit when he was on the side.
So actually, I think the first trap's the dumbest trap, in my opinion. What would have happened if that conductor was paying attention?
I don't think the train can stop in time.
Right.
The train, you know how long it takes a train to stop?
Yeah.
Like it takes like a minute to stop.
Yeah. It's
going so fast. I don't think that even if he saw him, and it's established that it's coming around the corner, I don't think he could have stopped it.
Yeah.
Even if he saw him, I also think the way he could have survived that was, he would have had to rip his tongue out and then stand on the side when the train went by and just waited for it to go by.
The thing I really didn't like is what he mentioned is these traps were nearly impossible to get. Most of Kramer's traps, whenever he gives you, he even says himself, "I'm not a murderer."
Yeah, which is wild to me.
And he gives you a chance to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll suffer some pain, a lot of pain, but you have the option of still living.
I also have my opinion on that, where I think there are several traps. I'm glad that you said most, because most traps I do think you can walk away and just be scarred for life and survive. There are traps that you logically can look at and be like, how do you win this?
Yeah, and
there is a plot in one of the Saws that there's unwinnable traps, and that's what Jigsaw was getting mad at
Amanda's
for.
Traps were all unwinnable.
Yeah,
I think that's what he said. Yeah,
or making them too hard or something like that. So
for example, there's a trap where the
head of the department,
the captain of the precinct is in the precinct in the basement, and she just had wax all over her face.
She goes down to the cold case room, and she's laying down on a table, and there's a blade up to her neck, right behind her neck, and she's laying down, she's strapped down, and boiling hot wax pipe is above her, and basically she would have to sever her spinal cord in order for the latches, I guess, to unlock.
Yeah,
and
that it stops the wax from dripping.
So it stopped the wax, and she basically wouldn't suffocate under boiling hot wax. If she was to sever, I was thinking about it, I was like, if she was to sever her spinal cord, basically be paralyzed to where she couldn't walk, it's just a blade. She would have to be so precise and not killing herself doing that. That was so brutal. That was the most brutal one.
I think, to me,
that one and the finger trap were the most brutal easily.
My personal favorite trap, and actually is in my honorable mentions, I'll say this now, is in this movie, is the skin trap.
What skin trap?
Where the guy, he was de-skinning.
That didn't even feel like a trap to me.
Yeah.
That was just purely that was a distraction. That wasn't really no one was tested. You know what I mean?
That was fucking brutal, though.
It was brutal.
I hated seeing that.
And that ended up being a hobo, which is one of the big twists in this movie, is that you think it is Will, Chris Rock or
partner,
Zeke's partner.
The rookie.
Yep. You think it's him because he tattooed, the reference to tattoo. It's very good to lead you thinking down other roads at that point, because I think there are people that thought it was Will at the beginning. If you did, good for you. I'm happy that you figured it out. I didn't know it, and I was glad that I didn't know it. It made it better for me.
Me too. So we were watching last night, and my wife turns to me and she goes, "I think it's him. What if it's not?" Like, cause when they,
but
when
late
in
the movie, right?
Yeah. I had some notes written down last night. These are my notes, right? I was like, first trap is a bad trap. I was like, they did blow his cover. What the fuck does the heatwave have to do with anything? But I went from, I think the woman is Jigsaw, which is the captain. I was like the chief or whoever Chris Rock's boss is. And I went from that to now I think it's the asshole's partner. But he died as well, the woman. I thought it was the woman. And then I thought it was O'Brien, which I was completely wrong.
Which is good, which is how you should be. And we kept seeing people get killed off. So the finger trap was brutal. Fizz, I think was his name. Something along those lines where he was a dirty cop and
he was an asshole.
Yeah, he was just an asshole in general. He didn't help Chris Rock in a moment of need. Chris Rock ended up getting shot back in the day. So his trap was brutal. He had to bite down on a clamp that would basically rip his fingers off. Because didn't he have another thing happen? He had also had where he shot somebody. It was on the dash cam where he shot somebody for flicking him off, and that's why they ripped his finger off. He was like, "Get your hands out of the car," and he did this, and that was like,
and then did this, then just took his gun out and just fucking shot him.
And that's why his trap was to rip his fingers off.
Yeah.
But he didn't have much time. He stopped for like 3 seconds. Rob ripping his fingers off, and he would have had to climb out of that bucket of water that had the copper wire, and it just didn't seem like too much time.
So it also, I thought he had gotten out, because he stopped for a second.
His fingers weren't ripped off yet.
And then I guess he needed all of that.
He's attached to that machine. He couldn't get out, right?
Yeah.
So that one was very brutal to me. Then the hot wax one was extremely brutal. I don't want to touch too long on the glass one because that just seemed like just a way to kill somebody. Chris Rock could have found that key a little quicker, but that's up Pete.
I would have just left his ass. The fuck?
Yeah, Chris Rock was just trying to be a good person, I guess. And even though he had turned him in, he didn't feel like he deserved to die in all of this, so he was trying to save him, I guess. Mm. And then we find out it's Will. And then you get into my favorite symbolism in the entire movie at the end, where Samuel Jackson is strung up, being drained of blood, like the pig puppet we see throwing. It wasn't really much of a trap. That ends up being a test for Chris Rock, right?
Yeah. So turn the main villain,
Jigsaw copycat.
Jigsaw copycat's main motivation was Chris Rock's Ezekiel Banks' dad.
I think yes and no. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think his scheme is so much bigger than that. His scheme is to correct a department. Chris Rock's dad just happened to be one of the main people that did it.
Okay, I agree with that.
Because it's not like he is just out for Marcus Banks.
Yes. Well, no, he's not. He's out for every.
He's out for all.
Killing all the dirty cops. Damn, I lost my train of thought. But
George was getting to the end, the last trap.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Throughout the movie, there were clips of a puppet pig, which is why the symbolism is so important at the end.
It's a pig dressed up as a cop, which is a common.
But at the end of it, Samuel L. Jackson was being puppeted, and the SWAT team comes into this building. And he brings out the shotgun.
Well, the shotgun was rigged onto the trap to make it look like he had a gun.
Right. Yeah. And then the SWAT team just fucking kills him. The ending, there are two things that really bothered me with this movie, although it was really good. Number one, the Jigsaw voice. Absolutely hated it.
I liked it. I felt like they needed to change it. And after the first time I heard it, I got used to it. Did you notice it much after the first time you heard it?
Yes, I did.
Really? I didn't.
I thought about it every single time.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
It's not what we're used to, but if you're changing and it's in a different universe, you can't use Kramer's voice.
Yeah, I guess. Every single time, though, I was like, this really bugs me. Number two was the ending of how they didn't see. You're going into a room as a SWAT team. I would assume that part of your training is to go into the room and look around and check everything.
I'm really glad that you caught that, because I'm pretty sure they've discussed that the point of that scene happening the way it did is to call action to the fact that cops and SWAT teams can act too quickly without making proper judgments. That's the point of that. We're talking about dirty cops, like that's the ideology that Chris Rock wanted to have in it. Like I said, it tackles a social issue a lot more. If we can get real dark here and say how many criminals and people, just as they pull a gun or someone thinks they're pulling a gun, it's not a gun, and cops gun them down. Yeah. I know we're talking bad cops in this, so it fits that. Right? I think it fit perfectly why you're saying, why would you do that? Why would someone do that in real life?
Well, because he was literally right beside him.
But why would someone do that in real life? Thinking someone was just if someone's pulling out their phone or their wallet, and that's what I'm getting to. Like, I think it's purposely done like that. Yeah. Like, hey, that's a logical thing you could have done. Why'd you shoot him? I could ask that question to any of the tragedies that have happened.
You're right.
And I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for, which I really appreciated. And if that's
the case, that's super fucking smart, super creative, and super, like, okay, very detailed.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm like, that really irks me, if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, well, seeing Will, like, bleeding from the mouth, closing the elevator as like all this is going down, and then that was crazy.
Yeah, I loved it. Like, okay, whatever. Which leaves room for sequels, which is dope.
Of course, I think they've already greenlit the next one.
As long as it's as good as this one, I'm okay with it.
If you're a Saw fan, I really want you to see this. I know I was talking to Mike the other day, and Mike was like, oh, like, I've detracted from seeing it. Mike's a big Saw fan. He was like, I detracted from seeing it because the reviews look bad. I was like, if you're a Saw fan, don't listen to the reviews. I promise you, I think you'll enjoy it if you enjoy Saw.
And Mike's one of our friends, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yeah, we've probably talked about him before when we were talking Marvel and everything. But that gets into, I kind of want to talk about, we were going to talk about our top 5 traps, right?
You go first. I'll let you go.
All right, I say I'll do my honorable mentions real quick. We'll go through those quick. We won't do like detail as we do in the other ones.
Yeah.
But I'll say my honorable mentions, you say yours, and then I'll list my top 5. You finish off with your top 5. Sound good? So my honorable mentions, and I'm gonna try to say what movies these were in. Just may help somebody. It doesn't matter. Justin's gonna be so detailed on it. I'm not as detailed as Justin.
I'm not gonna be that detailed.
So my honorable mentions, I have 3 because I couldn't pick one. Was the shotgun collar. At the end of Saw 3, like, just even though it wasn't really a trap, it was just a device. Mm-hmm. That's why I have an honorable mention. Yeah. Didn't really have it as a trap. Shotgun roulette and Saw 6, it was just, there was a lot of human choice up to it, so I thought it was impressive. And the silent circle, the spikes, when that's in Saw the Final Chapter, so it's the one when the guy's having to pull like the fish hook and the key out of the girl's throat. And as soon as she screams, that's an honorable mention because I absolutely loved that one.
I can't believe I didn't.
I have 5 I like better than that, but that one's right up there. So what are yours?
Honorable mentions, I have 3. The knife chair. So
the original one that Kramer tried, right? Like where he has to push his face through it?
Yeah. So that was in my honorable mentions. I don't know. I can't recall exactly which movies. Some of these I can, but I can't recall exactly which movies these are in.
You're good. There's so many.
Yeah. So. Another one is the same thing as him, is a shotgun carousel, where the guy had to choose which 3 were going to survive.
Yeah, that he worked with, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the freezer room, honorable mention as well.
Yep, that's Saw 3. That one is incredible.
Yeah.
That was absolutely incredible. So I love those. I also love that there's so many traps that we can point to. We're going to leave some off. So in the comments, tell us what your favorite trap was, or tell us if you agree with us. Tell us if there's one that we left off that y'all really loved. We love hearing y'all's opinions on them.
For sure.
So with that being said, I'm going to list my top 5.
Okay.
Going from 5 to 1.
All right.
So my 5th favorite is the needle pit from Saw 2. So Amanda gets thrown in the needle pit, and she has to find the syringe.
It's terrible.
Yeah, she's basically like, at first she's like really, and I just don't like needles. I have tattoos, but I don't like needles going in me.
Yeah, motherfucker just pushed her in there too. Yeah.
And so to find the combination of the lock, which they don't end up seeing, so that really irked me. The reverse bear trap is my number 4, only because we haven't really, I don't believe we've seen it like actually completely work. I think both times we've seen it, like Hoffman's gotten out of it, and I believe Amanda's gotten out of it. So that's why I have it as 4, because I haven't seen the full aftermath of that. Number 3, I have the angel trap, like the angel wings trap, where the girl gets her ribs basically ripped open.
She was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
too.
she's trying to get the key that's in the acid. She can't get it, and then it's just call me crazy. I think it's a beautiful shot. It's really well done. Like the effects are fantastic. It's really good.
Not crazy.
And she's just hanging up there, and it like lingers on it for a sec.
You're a horror
it's cool.
fan.
Yep.
Number
crazy. 2, it's called. I looked online. It has a name actually. It's called the horsepower trap. I just knew it as the Chester Bennington car trap. That's in. I think it's in Saw 3D. But it's Chester Bennington was the lead singer of Linkin Park. Rest in peace.
In the car.
Yep. So there's like 4 people that are involved. There's a guy that has a hook through his head. There's the girl that's underneath the tire as the car's going. There's a guy in front of the garage that the car would drive through. And then there's Chester Bennington with his back super glued to the seat. He has to pull basically all the skin off his back to be able to pull the thing to stop it. Instead, everyone dies, and it's really brutal. Love Chester, love Linkin Park, RIP, but I love how much thought and how brutal that kill is, even though that's later in the series, which I don't love those films as much. My number 1 is the rack trap from Saw 3. I know a lot of people love that trap. I think it's just the slow twisting of limbs.
Seeing the bones come out.
Jeff is sitting there just like saying he's sorry. Like it has so much build up to it, and it's the person who had was the person who struck Jeff's son, I believe, and was why Jeff was in the situation he was for Saw 3. So that's my top 5. The rack is like, that one is just so incredibly thought out. I think we see like blueprints of the rack in another movie or in Saw 3. It's like drawn. It's incredible the detail that's put into it. Also, whoever comes up with these traps, we talked about this last night, crazy minds. Because in fact, you can think of some of this stuff is insane. Right. So, Justin, what do you got?
For me, going from 5 to 1. Number 5, I guess which we really talked about earlier, is the skinning in Spiral. To me, just because it's absolutely horrific to watch. Number 4, I didn't want to tell you this while you were talking, but for me, it's Reverse Bear Trap 2. I know you said we didn't see, but we did.
We saw somebody's head completely get destroyed?
Yeah, it was his wife, Kramer's wife.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me on that. Thank you.
I just didn't want to interrupt.
Was that? No, you're fine. Was that the 3rd time that was used then? That's incredible. Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Number 3 was in Jigsaw. Even though I fucking hated that, I do like the cycle trap.
With the bike where he has to pull the...
It's like, no, the really big one.
The blend. It looks like a blender where he has to pull the bike.
Yeah. Number 2, which is, I would hate to go out this way, is the furnace. Just getting burnt.
Yeah.
Just getting burnt to death.
That was in Saw 2, right, where the guy goes in and grabs the antidote.
Yeah, you could see him coming out like towards the end there. Because in order for you to survive, you have to pull, to get the, yes.
Yep.
And then number 1, to me, which is why I like the skin one so much also, because it's also fucking just, I don't want to know, is the classroom scene, is when the guy was pulling the rings off his...
Yeah, that's one I have an issue with, because I'm like, I don't like the Achilles ones are so brutal. It makes me think of Hostel. There's a scene with Achilles in there, and that is bad. But like, I don't know how he would survive if he gets the one out of his jaw. Like he rips his mouth off, and like you bleed to death. You have to. He did
survive.
Yeah, obviously he blew up. Actually, just blew up because there were the bombs in there when he didn't finish in time. But those are great. I mean, like we said, there's tons of traps in this whole series that are so creative and so crazy. Like I'm even thinking like later in the series, there's the guy that has to pull himself up, that pretends that he survived Jigsaw by saying that he pulled himself up by his pec muscles with hooks through him, and he actually has to do that at the end, and that's so brutal. Like that's a good one too. So let us know what y'all's favorite traps are. There are a ton of traps, so leave in the comments like whether it's your top 3 or your top 5, or whether you loved or hated some of the traps we said. We want to hear what y'all had to say about it. Like I said, there's so much.
Yeah, and as always, man, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. And if you've commented on our last video, last videos. So
Fear Street ones.
Street Part 2, I believe we said we would give out shirts.
Yes.
Email us your address and we'll send it over.
Yes. So I think I replied to those comments. I'm going to try to reply to everybody, give you the email address, and we'll chop it up there and get you a t-shirt. It's over here. I don't know if the camera will show it, but we'll get you one of these. So appreciate y'all.